Hello everyone, welcome to another video. So today I'm going to share some knowledge on how you can integrate Node.js application with CockroachDB. Before jumping any further, let me explain what CockroachDB is. Basically, it's a distributed SQL server which Cockroach Labs have exposed for us as database as a service, and it's hosted on AWS cluster. So basically, it's really good for development purposes. Reason being, it's free. You don't need any credit card if you register on the website. It provides 5 GB of storage and 250 million request units per month. What does request units per month mean? Basically, each request approximately takes two requests or three requests. Like, let's say I have a table called users and I need to maybe make a select query on it. So maybe one query will take around two request units. So likewise, we are provided 250 million request units, which is a lot for development purposes, right? Now I'm making use of CockroachDB in one of my side projects. I will soon release it and will go over it what it is about. But while working on it, I faced a lot of challenges in integrating my Node.js application with CockroachDB. So I thought of making a video on it as it will be useful for me if in future I need to go over it, right, as a reference. So before any further ado, let's jump on to the development part. The easiest way is first you need to create your account on Cockroach Labs. Then you would see a dashboard like this. I already have one cluster that I created for my side project, but in this video I am going to create a cluster from scratch. So you click on create cluster, then you're gonna select serverless. This is the beta version, so this is a free version. And then I click on here creating a cluster. It will take like 5 to 10 seconds. Once it's done, I think it shows up some credentials. Yeah, so these are the credentials, and these are very important. So let me actually copy paste it somewhere. Let's do this. Actually, we need to start with the development process. So let me open my command line and let's create a directory. Let's name it test app. So once that is done, okay, so now make sure you have node and npm installed, right? So I would do npm init. Utility will walk you through. Okay, so it will create a package.json for us. Okay, so yes, it looks good. Now let's open our atom editor for our development purpose. Wait, so yeah, here is a new window. Maybe, oops. We need slash users slash yeah, let's open this only. No, I don't need this folder. Maybe I can drag and drop from my finder. Wait, so yeah, I think work career side hustles. Yeah, okay, so we have our side hustles. This is the test app. I'm gonna create a new file called app, or let's name it index.js, as that is what our source file in package.json. Okay, so now I can copy my credentials. Let me copy everything there. This is just for our purpose. Yeah, this has a password, and also we might need some other data it says that it will be only provided once. So let me go over my connection string. Okay, so I'll copy everything. Right. And we know the password already, so this will be our password. Okay, so now that we have all the information, I think we don't need any of these. Yeah, let's close this. Yeah, so this is our cluster. We can see here everything like storage and request units used till now. It shows some request units used. Why? Because when we create a cluster, it creates SQL users and all those dummy tables. Users being me right now as the administrator, but yeah, don't worry about it. So now let's get started with our dependencies. So I think the dependencies that we might be needing for this development process would be uh, Express. So everyone knows what Express is. Sorry, this is not this Express. npm Express. Right. Yeah. So let's install this. You can go over the documentation what it is, but this will act as a server. Oops, where is my command? The other part that we would need here would be body parser, because any request that we create, we need a way to pass maybe JSON uh, data that we pass to add our data to the database. So body parser is done. Then um, we need sequelize. So it is basically a Node.js ORM. What is ORM? I'll briefly go over it. So ORM is object relational mapping. So it provides us a way of communicating our object-oriented JavaScript into a SQL query. It's like an interface. It basically translates our whatever we write in JavaScript into a SQL query, and when we'll see it in action soon. So yeah, so that is done. Oops. And then one more thing we need for CockroachDB, we have a sequelize CockroachDB. So it's specific to CockroachDB, um, um, and it's required in our case. Okay, so we get an error saying why were we getting an error. npm I while resolving, unable to resolve fix the root dependencies. So I had to cut the last video in between because I was facing some errors in installing sequelize CockroachDB dependency. So what I did here was there was a conflict. So I basically had to dig deep and find the version that works. So currently the sequelize version should be this, and sequelize CockroachDB version should be this. Once you edited and this was the error that we were getting. So once you edit um, our package.json file, we can do npm install, and yeah, it works fine. So yeah, we have got all the dependencies that we needed right here. Now we can get started with our development part. So we can create basically import our dependencies. um, yeah. So then after that, let's create a port. I'm gonna create this port, and then let me create a host will be obviously localhost, which is 127.0.0.1 in our case. We are gonna also import body parser, as I said. That will allow us to take request in JSON format. So body parser, and then we are gonna use it and dot use body parser dot JSON. Okay, and then we are also gonna import sequelize capital S. So I think the spelling is right here. Okay, and I think that looks good. Now we can create our sequelize object that will create using our sequelize interface class that we added. So, and we are going to use these informations that we have here, right? So let's see what arguments it takes. So one is dialect, which is in our case Postgres, because we are going to use Postgres as a SQL database. Username is correct. Password is host. And port, that is 26257. That is what we get from port, that is what we get from our cluster database. So this is the name of the database. In our case it's new news, and I think that's it. We need, I think, logging. We can just say it as false. I think that looks good for now, and then we can just start our server app.listen just to see if we have any errors or not. That log. Okay. Server started at host port let's see. I think package has a start. Okay, it doesn't have. It's fine. We'll run it using node index.js. Okay, we got an internal error. What's the error? The ID must be typing the CV. So I guess we are getting some argument errors. Maybe there is one more argument that I'm missing. I thought it's optional, but let's see. Dialect options, we need to provide SSL. Okay. Line 15. Line 15 is just. Oops. I think I made. Sorry, I used require. It should be express. Okay, the server has started. Okay, now our SQLize is done. For dummy purpose, I'm gonna create a people table in our database. So the way it works is SQLize provides us an interface. As I said, it is an ORM language, right? So I'm gonna create people SQLize dot define. We are gonna give it an ID field. We are gonna give it a type. Now SQLize is intelligent enough to give it a random integer, starting integer value, and then we can tell it to auto increment it for us, and it's gonna be a primary key. So we are gonna give name and phone number. Integer. Okay. Now I'm also gonna create a simple method or an endpoint, basically app.get, which is like a list endpoint, which will take request and result. And what we'll do is we are gonna create, or basically we are gonna pull data out of our people table. Now let me make one thing clear. When we call SQLize.define, and when we are trying to define a people's table, this define actually creates a table also. So this is like a two-way thing. It runs a create table query with these fields, and it creates a table on our on the distributed SQL server that we have, that is CockroachDB. So this one part is doing everything. It creates people table for you with all the fields that you have. Now the way we get our data would be, we can directly use this people object, and we'll sync, and we'll call force false. Now what this sync does is, let's say I in future I want to add one more field, right? Let's say its phone number was there, I need to add maybe address as well. So the sync will basically alter that people table, the SQL query, that a SQL table that we have on CockroachDB. So it's gonna run a SQL query with alter. I don't exactly remember, but I think the alter is the keyword when we need to, or maybe update. I guess update is the keyword in the SQL that we call to update our table. So the sync will make sure that it creates a new column in our people's table that we provide in the code. Now force is important. If we give for force as true, it's gonna delete the old table and then recreate the new one. But we don't need that, because in that case we are gonna lose our old previous data. So that's why the force field is false. Now it's a asynchronous method, that's why we need, so it's gonna return a promise, right? So we need to handle the promise, and we can, so the then method is the best way I feel we can handle it. We can then return people dot find all, as we need to return all the fields. and then after that it returns. We need to send it to our result, right? So I'm gonna call it people, and then I'm gonna just send it, right? So I'm gonna call this. So let's rerun this. Okay, it's done. Now I use Postman, so I already had used this in my previous project, so I'm gonna just call this. Okay, so we got an error which is like, oh sorry, so it's final all. We need find all, find all. Okay, so this should work. Yeah, okay, so it's empty right now. Our table is empty, that's why we don't get any data here. Now let's go ahead and add an endpoint. We can call it app.post, because it's going to be a post request where we send a bunch of parameters to our endpoint so that we can save it. Yeah, so now what we can do here, we can do people again dot sync. We are gonna do force false, and then we are gonna call then function. Now we are gonna return by creating the bulk request, which is like bulk create. So bulk create provides us a easy way to send an array of data, but right now we just have one data, which is name would be we would have request dot body dot name, and we would have phone number, which would be request dot body dot phone number, right? Once this is done, we then need to, so this is little different. It also provides a catch method that we can use. So it provides us a catch method in case if any error happens during the bulk part. I just like to log it because it tells me if the update query was successful or not, right? Okay, and at the end I'm just gonna send something to the user saying um, people, so people created with name plus list. Yeah, that is fine for now. Let's try to, I am just going through if it looks good. We do a then we do a return, then we do a catch. Okay, looks good. Let me close the server. Oops. Okay, server is running. I have a post and I have a body ready. So let me see if I had phone. We have a phone number here. We need to send phone number. So this should be phone number, right? And we do an add method. Let's see. Okay. Oops, I made a spelling mistakes. Lots of spelling mistake happening right now. It's night time for me. Maybe I'm a little sleepy. Okay, so okay, person created with code. So if the person is created, then our get request should work, right? Awesome. So we see we have but why did it create twice? Oh, maybe it created the first time as well as second time. The first time I got an error when it was trying to run the catch block, Yeah, so it created twice. Never mind. We are gonna soon write endpoint that deletes, right? So let's create post endpoint. This is gonna be pretty straightforward. Delete, and then we have function, and the way we do is people drop. It's a synchronous call, so we don't need to await it. um, People table dropped. Okay, so now once this is done, okay, so now let's run this once more. Okay, we got this. Let's run this. Delete. People stable delete. Now let's run this. Okay, so we don't get any empty thing. We don't get any error. Let's run the new one. So we should get the one item. Yeah, we get the one item now, so it works fine now. So I guess that is all for this tutorial. I hope you guys liked it. It's a very short one, and I just covered literally overall brief approach how you can integrate your CockroachDB with Node.js application. And I guess you can expand on this, and I'm also gonna do that because I'm not good with it. I just started my side project, and I thought this TV would be a good use for my development purpose, because I think before even I can get to the users, this much data I needed just for testing and other purposes. Yeah, so hope you guys like this video. If so, please subscribe to my channel and give me a thumbs up. Thanks everyone.